like to welcome everybody here to the 18th Annual Canton Athletic Hall of Fame. I have to say right now, I can't see a thing out there because these lights are shining on my face. Chuck Bolus just said to me, can you please give me a water? Bradger just said, can you please turn the lights down? I don't know what these guys think I am, Bill Porter or something, what's going on. It's nice to see a nice crowd out there tonight. It's nice to see a lot of our former Hall of Fame members already in attendance. I have to make a special note to see Wayne Willette actually in the crowd. Wayne is usually always here, and he's missed the last couple years because he's been battling a serious sickness. So it's nice to see him back, and I'd like to give him a round of applause. Coach Willette, in your honor, I gave one of your speeches today. We played Sam River, and by the way, boys varsity soccer team, the current boys varsity soccer team, beat Sam River 1-0. I gave a Wayne Willette speech, and we won 7-1 for JV boys. Matt, I'll let you guys speak.
Turn it off.
And people say 36 years. Dave Shea just told me 48. Our football team beat Augsburg 28-16 today. First time it's been in 48 years. I gotta tell you, I was so impressed with those kids. And you know, if you believe in angels, they got a few breaks here and there. They played awesome, but if O.J. Audette and John Oliver were there, they gave them a little help here and there. I tell you, gotta give them. MCing this Hall of Fame, I had great eyes, but now I got glasses, so I can't see a thing, so I have to use these glasses.
It's the lights.
Yeah, it's got to be the lights. We'll say it's the lights. Tonight, we have some special guests here. Tiger Woods, Michael Jordan, and Derek Jeter will not be here. But we have some of Canton's finest athletes and teams being honored tonight. Tonight, we have 4 different individuals. We have the doctor, Dave Shea. We have Maury Maroney, Pat Harrington, Mike Bolus. And we also have 2 of Roger Duchamp's finest soccer teams to be inducted, the 1975 team and the 1976 team. The Hall of Fame committee has worked very hard to come up with these names. And I just want to honor them right now. If we can hold our applause until I mention all of them. Dave Peggs, class of 71. Former coach Denny Jones. Class of 75, Dan Huntley. Class of 74, Kathy Flanagan. Former athletic director and coach Dave Bradman. Former coach and alumni, Sparky Lyle Newman. Former coach, Neil Riggs. Current athletic director, Bill Porter. Current coach and alumni, Anita Francis. And former teacher, Kathy Giglio. These people worked very hard to put this on, and we'd like to give them a round of applause. After the ceremony, or during the ceremony, each individual will receive their own plaque that they can take home and do what they want. And they will have another plaque put in the hallway across from the gym. And after I want people to go down and look at the different plaques, it's very interesting to read all the different things about those people. Tonight, the way this process works, we'll have a presenter come up and present each individual. Then they will make an acceptance speech. Some of these speeches have been long, some have been short, some have been funny, some have been emotional, some have given great messages. Some of the great messages we've seen over the years, and I don't want to leave anybody out, but some of the ones I will always remember is Chris Wells gave an awesome one. Most of it about Wayne Willette, and that's one of the 3 times he hasn't been here. John Clark, Paul Patterson, Jimmy Nee, the Grotto Brothers, Sue Goulden, and nobody can forget Jerry Smilligan's great speech. After the reception, we will all head down to the Partridge Run Golf Course at the old deck side and have a few different beverages of your choice, and more stories will come out, some true and some not so true. Okay? It seems like the longer you stay there, the better the stories get. To get things started, our first presenter is going to be Bill Porter, and he's going to present for Mr. Dave Shea as a friend of the Canton Athletic Central program.
fall over. I ain't looking to compete with you, beat or cheat or mistreat you, simplify you, classify you, deny, defy, or crucify you. No, I ain't looking to fight with you, frighten you, or tighten you, drag you down or drain you down, chain you down or bring you down. All I really want to do is be friends with you. I thought it was appropriate to try and hook you all into my words this evening about Dave Doc Shea in a manner which he often used in his many thousands of stories with Bob Dylan lyrics. A strategy he often used to inspire people to reading his articles. I feel that the words by Bob Dylan elegantly and eloquently allow me to transition into a brief description of what Doc is and why he's a friend of Canton Athletics and our entire community, and why we'd like to thank him from the bottom of our hearts. One such example of his work was an article about a pair of basketball players, former basketball players, one particular night which was entitled something to the effect, "A hard rain gonna fall, but a soft rain fell last night in Augsburg with the shooting of Hatch and Gunn from Governor," and many, many countless other hooks that would captivate you to get you to read his articles. When Riggsy asked me to speak on behalf of Mr. Dave Doc Shea, my response was an immediate and absolute yes. Absolutely. As soon as I hung up the phone, it was one of those moments in life where you kind of speak before you think. My brain started to wonder, what was I thinking? I was overwhelmed with an abundance of emotions. My initial instinct was to doubt my abilities to present him in a manner worthy of such an uncommon, selfless, and unique individual. What a privilege to present a man with the status of like Dave Shea. A man who is himself a legend amongst the legends of Section 10 and the entire North Country. My fear and anxiety subsided and then turned into a thankful pride. I want to thank Neil for giving me the opportunity to communicate to the world how I feel about Dave Shea, and for the opportunity and all the positive feelings that I have toward him, and as do the rest of the North Country and beyond. It's not just my opinion. Over the last 3 or 4 weeks since Neil asked me to do this, I've been talking with everybody, just trying to figure out what people's thoughts were, maybe a story or an insight they may have about Dave. So I'm just going to read some of them, because there were many. Some of the more common things were, he's always been fair to all teams, players, and coaches. I always want to stop and say hello to him. Number 3, he's always positive. Number 4, very simply put, I love Dave Shea. Number 5, he's never put anyone down publicly or privately. Only he knows that that's true. Number 6, he's a class act. 7, he is immune to poor weather. I love seeing him around town on his bike. He's highly fashionable, known for his famous attire. There was a story was given to me about the attire piece, and his buddies had bought him a new sweatshirt and presented him with a sweatshirt. Of course, he had to take the old one off that he'd been wearing for, as they said, countless number of years. And the real motive for giving him the new sweatshirt was they took the old one out back, and in the bonfire it went. So, highly fashionable. Number 11, he loves fishing in the river. Another person said, are there 3 of him? I see him everywhere. Number 13 was, he never sleeps. He watches games, talks sports, writes about sports, plays pickup basketball on Sundays. When does he sleep? His writing painted a positive picture of both teams, somehow even when the score was one-sided. A gentleman always, except for sometimes when he was playing pickup ball. He was a very good softball pitcher for many years for Oscars. And then the last couple, more and more people said these 2 things. He was one of a kind, and there will never be another. And I could go on and on. Bill Murda shared a story with me about how he received the title doctor. I guess I never questioned it, because I assumed that the way he wrote his stories with such expression and description, that he was a PhD or something. Not a college or university was where he got this title, but a gymnasium, a much more privileged location. You see, Dave had some moves back in the day where he would drive the lane and throw the no-look pass. And I guess one night, one particular afternoon, he was connecting with every pass. And so somebody just decided, hey, looking like Dr. J tonight. So the doctor stood Became not only a gym time name, but a pickup handle at basketball, but transitioned him into his life as a term of endearment from the guys who most loved and respected him. My personal experiences, I can recall many days in the Augsburg gym or here in Canton if he was covering the game, and anyone that's coached or played as an athlete or competitor, you know how it is when you've lost a game and you don't have the words, you don't want to talk to anybody. The thing that I appreciated the most about Dave was he's one of those guys that he'd give you space, he'd let you settle down, he'd come over and he'd have a conversation, and many nights you didn't want to talk. In fact, there were a couple times I didn't even say anything at all, and yet I was quoted the next day in the paper, and it was a very positive quote that he always was able to muster up for me. So I appreciate that. And I guess the greatest thing I can say about him as a coach is I trusted him. I trusted that he would do the right thing and say the right thing. Many people already know that Dave had many years ago sacrificed one of his kidneys for his brother. With a modern point of reference, this may not seem as such a unique thing to do, so I did a little bit of research on it. I looked into a surgical annual magazine or periodical, Sciences since 1885. The article was 1974, described survival rates of kidney donors. For a non-HLA identical relative, the mortality rate was about 60%, a little bit more than half. Here is a human being with a selflessness and compassion to literally give a piece of himself to a loved one. He has been equally gracious to all of us as teammates, fellow competitors, a writer, sports enthusiast, trivia buff, a human being, and a friend. I am a better person for having known him and for the example he continues to inspire us with. Ladies and gentlemen, if ever there was a person entitled to a standing ovation, it is our friend, Mr. Dave, the Dr. Shea.
Right, I can't see much out there. I want to thank the Hall of Fame for considering me. I want to thank Bill Porter for his wonderful introduction. I want to thank him for quoting Bob Dylan. And I want to thank him for refreshing my memory. I forgot about the hard rain and the soft rain, but it was a pretty soft rain. I guess when you are inducted to one of these organizations or honored, you look at some of the people that are already in there ahead of you, and I was going through the program, and there were so many people that I first met covering athletics that I met from Canton, and so many of them have gone on to become my very good and trusted friends. And I don't want to just, to talk about a few would be just very hard, but and leave people out. But one, I remember Ali Adat, one of the great honors I've ever had in my life was to seed Ali on the Wednesday travel golf group. And I had an opportunity to play with Ali for several years, and he represented everything that Canton stood for, and so many other people do too. I know covering sports, Canton can claim some of the greatest athletes in every sport. And I can remember being a young sports writer and coming and covering basketball when a curly-haired freshman came out and played in the playoffs against OFA, Hal Cohen, as a freshman, and he put in a lot of points that night. They didn't win, but it's just, you remember things like that. And I really have to thank Neil Riggs here. thanks to Neil, after taking his driver ed course in the summer, I was able to get my driver's license. It only took 4 tries, but I got it. And I needed a car when I finally got my job, so I guess I got to thank Neil for a lot. And I have always made my career out of expressing thoughts and words, and to be honored tonight here is something that I don't know if words have been invented yet to express how I feel. So all I'll say is thank you very much, and really have a great night.
The doctor had to go first tonight because he actually has the privilege to being inducted into the Potsdam Sandstorms Hall of Fame. They got beat by St. Louis Central today, by the way. I just want to let you know. I think I wanted to dress you up a little bit.
Okay.
So I want you to wear this when you go over there. When I first met the doctor, I was coaching softball at Herman Cow, and he came and interviewed me after a game where we beat Morristown. And me being 22 years old, 23 years old, not knowing I was even being interviewed at the time, I read the paper the next day, and I thought, I never said that. That sounds a lot better than I am. Holy smokes. Then later on, last year I think it was, the doctor actually tried to retire. I think that lasted a couple days, 3 weeks or something, but he told me he was retired. Then I drove to Fairfield, Connecticut to watch my daughter play a softball game. I go up into the bleachers, and there's the doctor, sitting there watching. I was like, what are you doing here? This is my retirement, watching sports. So, what a great guy. Before we bring up our next inductee, I just want to say one quick thing. These people being inducted are about ready to join the special ones. I mean, you are amongst the people now that are some of the best that ever gone through Canton Central School in the athletic department. And this is a family award. It's not an individual award. I say this every year, but can you imagine how many family dinners have been missed? How many miles have been put on the family car because of going to practices? How much time you've been put in a gym, an ice rink, on a soccer field, on a football field? This is a family award, and the family should be proud of these people because you guys have helped them get here. And I want a round of applause for the families. Doctor's got his t-shirt on. I dare you to walk in with that, doctor. Yeah, I thought you would. Our next inductee, the presenter, Mr. Neil Riggs, presenting for Maury Maroney.
Bill Porter, I knew you liked to give speeches. I should have asked you to do this one. But congratulations to the 2 soccer teams, the inductees, Pat Harrington and Maury. And my condolences to the Bolish family, but this is a positive way for his athletic endeavors to honor him. So look at it that way. Thanks to all the businesses that contribute money. Without them, we wouldn't buy these plaques, we wouldn't have it. I think we have the best ceremony in the North Country from all the stuff I've heard. I went to the Potsdam one and it's so long, I left. And I gave my speech, of course, but then I left. Big thank you to, it's already been thanked, committee, but special thanks to David Peggs for the work he does, Bill Porter, Mike Wentworth, Kathy Flanagan, and Kathy Gill. At this time, Maury, I want you to close your eyes. Try to use your imagination, but your mom's here, your sister, your brother, they're all proud of you. But I'm thinking of the big guy in the sky, your dad, Mike, who was also a Hall of Fame member. I'm looking at him and he's walking around, strutting, shoulders are back, bragging. His daughter is inducted into the Canton Hall of Fame. Boy, is he proud of you. I wasn't Maury's first choice to give the speech. I didn't coach her. I was coaching back then, but I didn't coach her. Sue Waltz did. So she asked Sue, and for whatever reason, Sue couldn't do it or wouldn't do it, whatever. But the whole point is, back then, Sue Waltz was a pioneer in women's athletics. 2 years before Maury's freshman year, the state of New York, the whole country actually, put in a law, Title IX. What Title IX did was, first of all, it got more girls, more women to participate in athletics. It also equaled girls' athletics with boys' athletics. I'm sure some schools, they're not equal, but they're supposed to be. The only negative for me as a wrestling coach was that put a hurt on wrestling, but that's another story. The way it used to be, I coached track. It was raining outside. We had the boys and girls in the gym to do our warm-ups. So we did our warm-ups. We're ready to go outside. The athletic director comes in and informed the girls that because it was raining, they couldn't go outside and practice. Can you imagine what would happen now? He'd be fired. Well, the girls would rip his clothes off, first of all, and then he'd be fired. So, what was then and what is now is just incredible. Back in the day, and again, it's a negative thing, but to watch girls basketball, not good. Now, especially the college level, and the pro, even the pro level, it's more fun to watch than the guys, actually. Maury was quite an athlete. She was extremely talented in a wide variety of sports. She was an all-Northern goalie for the soccer team. She was an all-Northern diver on a good swim team. And if you look at the program, you see she was all-Northern as a junior. And I looked at what happened her senior year. Well, they moved swimming to the fall, so she had to make up her mind. And she chose to be a goalie. Some of the dives that she did for swimming, full twisting layout, inward dive, back twist, blah, blah, blah. At the college when I went there, we were graded on our diving ability. Well, I was so terrible that I'd practice once, wipe out, then I'd do my dive for the grade, wipe out, and that'd be it. There was no sense practicing. You hit the water wrong, it hurts. She also did shot put for the track team, and she thinks she was a all-Northern discus thrower. At least she went to the States, so she probably was. As a youngster, she enjoyed athletics so much that she played with guys, baseball, but she couldn't play baseball because she was a girl. Then they put in Pee Wee baseball games where she umpired for that. Later, she became a volleyball referee. She did high school and colleges. She also helped coach Canton swimming and Canton track. She also canoed in many Russian races, winning many times with her dad. I guess her brother helped her too. As a post person, whatever how you word it, she had a highly successful career as postmaster at Clifton Fine, and when she retired, she ended up as a postmaster at Canton. It gives me great pleasure to present into the Canton Hall of Fame, Maury.
I want to thank the committee for choosing me for this honor, and I want to thank the committee for choosing me for this honor, and I also want to tell you what an honor that it is to see the evolution of women's sports. When we were young, we weren't allowed to play, then we got to play, then we got to play more, and then we got to play really well. And I always knew that it would be good someday to throw like a girl.
Maury doesn't remember this, but when I was probably about 10 years old, I would ride my bike any place there was a pickup baseball game. Where there was the Stiles Road, or where she lived on Finnegan Road. And I remember going and playing some softball with a group of people on that road, the Stones and her family. And I remember going home and telling my mom I want to be as good as she is. And Poor mom was saying, what are you talking about? She was pretty good. Last spring, Chuck and Sue Bullish emailed me and asked me if I would present for Mike Bullish. And I jumped at the chance. But as soon as I hit send, saying yes, I would do it, I thought, oh my God, what am I going to say? Because I coached Mike in Little League Baseball. I coached him up till he was probably 14 years old in baseball. Then I moved out west. And then by the time I moved back, Mike was an adult. So there's 7 years, I didn't know what he was doing. And I thought, what am I going to say about it? I thought, well, one story I could tell was when he was 14 years old, I took a travel baseball team up to Prescott in Canada to play under the lights. Mike got there just before game time because him and his family were running or competing in a duathlon or a triathlon. Mike comes in the dugout, lays on the bench and says, my legs are killing me. Me being 16, 17 years old, I said, suck it up, let's go. And he did it. To make a long story short, after his third home run, he rounds the bases, smiles at me with a cheesy grin and says, this way I don't have to run so much. I can tell you a story about a co-ed softball game in Syracuse. We used to play co-ed softball with a group of people, and we'd play a lot of co-ed softball, and we'd win a lot, and we'd lose a lot, but we'd have a lot of fun. One term we went to in Syracuse, we didn't realize, but when we got there, game started, the guys had to bat opposite-handed. Well, Mike and I threw with our right hand and hit left-handed. And we thought, God, they will never know. But we decided we would do it straight up. So the first time up, Mike goes up right-handed, not his natural hitting spot, hits a home run. And then when we come out the next inning, they notice Mike's throwing right-handed. The guy gets all upset, calling us cheaters. Mike says, all right, I'll bat left-handed next time. Goes up, hits a ball that still has not landed, crosses the plate, looks at the guy, how do you want me to hit next time? Those are the only two stories I had. And a month ago, 2 months ago, I got on the emails, I got on the text, and I started sending things out to his friends and his family, and teachers and coaches. And I got enough stuff to write a research paper on the life of Mike Bullish. The stuff that I found out was so impressive, and it wasn't just the athletic things. Athletically, he played varsity soccer, varsity basketball, varsity baseball for 3 years. He excelled in all of them. He was an all-Northern in all of them. He was a captain in all 3 sports. People always said his proudest athletic achievements was 1988 state soccer championship, his Class C basketball championship, upsetting Norwood Norfolk at Maxey Hall. In that game, Mike hit a 3-pointer at the buzzer to win the game. If people don't know, Mike's mother happened to be a teacher and a coach at Norwood Norfolk. I'm sure she loved walking through the halls that next day. Former English teacher Mike Seymour later said that Mike used those 2 championships in every essay he wrote for the rest of his high school career, including the Regents. After speaking with Mike's former teammates, coaches, and friends, the general consensus was that Mike was a fierce competitor, that everyone loved to play with him, but nobody wanted to play against him. I have some different quotes, and I don't like to read it right off here, but I'm going to have to for these people. From Jerry Hauerheim. His most outstanding moment for me was his game-winning basket against Norwood Norfolk to win the Section 10 Class C championship game at Maxey Hall. He came back from cutting open his chin earlier in the game, hitting a game-winning 3 at the buzzer. He was a true 3-sport athlete, a fierce competitor. And when the game was on the line as a coach, he wanted Mike to be involved in the final play. It didn't matter if I had to kick him out of practice one day, sounds like he did. I knew he would have his game face on the next day because he thrived on competing against other schools. Aaron Jones, former teammate and now outstanding basketball at Madden Waddington. I remember Mike as being someone you would hate to play against, but loved it when he was on your team. His competitive was second to none. He would run through a wall if that's what it took for his team to win. He would always seem to come up with a big play when his team needed it most. My junior year, I will never forget all the big plays he made for our run to the state championship in soccer. The way he played in our biggest upset against Norwood Norfolk, which no one gave us a chance to win the sectional Class C final. Mike was a key figure in both those events. Rob Brown, former teammate, now one of the top 2 or 3 Section 10 officials, unless you ask Mark Henry. Things came very easy to Mike. He always seemed to be the best at whatever he did. The funny part was he still worked harder than everybody else did on the team. He may not have always been the biggest, fastest, or strongest, but you could never outwork him, and no one had a bigger heart. He thrived on getting under people's skin of his opponents, taking them out of their game mentally. He would knock them down, pick them up, give them a hug, and then knock them down again. His favorite method to get in shape for basketball was to run around town and collect political signs in the month of November. There's a story we can ask about that down at Robbie will tell you, and Sue and Chuck, I'm sure, will be proud to tell you. I think that was a family tradition, wasn't it? Robbie says Mike was probably the most famous for his legendary dunk ball skills in the Vanford gym. Larry Casey, longtime guidance counselor. The year the boys won the state soccer championship, Mike and a couple of his teammates knocked on our door one night at about 9:30 p.m. It was the night before the first soccer practice. When I answered the door, Mike said they had heard that his son was going to play football instead of playing soccer. They went into his room and talked to him and laughed for about an hour. All of a sudden, they came out the room and said, "We'll see you at soccer practice tomorrow." That's the type of leader he was. Two more. Dave Bradley. Mike would turn every PE class into a battle. It didn't matter if you were playing floor hockey or badminton, it was going to be a war. We had kids transfer in and out of classes when they found out Mike was going to be in the class. Wayne Willett, longtime teacher and JV soccer coach at Canton, the best quote of them all. I asked him at a soccer game. He looks down, shakes his head, he said, "Old school. He was one hell of an athlete." And if you know Wayne, if you talk about your former players or the weather, he never stops. And that's all he had to say. In high school, Mike was actually lucky enough to play in teams with his older brother, Chuck. Together they joined the Von Schiller brothers, the Simpson brothers, the Fay brothers, and the Clark brothers as some of the most competitive sibling teammates in this era. The rumor was everything was a competition between them. Board games, canoe races, triathlons. I heard actually, in the last few years, they had a race, a competition, who could go the gray the fastest. I could be in that competition too. The funny thing about hearing about all those different things, I read, somebody sent me this, as competitive as I heard Mike was, and anything he would do to win. I heard about, in the last 5 or 6 years, he was in a bicycle race. He's competitively in this race. He comes along a guy who has a flat tire or a breakdown in his bike. Mike comes up, gets off his bike, the guy was struggling to fix it. Gets off his bike, fixes it in a few minutes, gets on his bike, takes off. Never told the guy who he was, never said anything to him. The guy later on found out who the guy was. That just shows you what type of man he turned into. After graduating high school, Mike went on to play soccer and baseball for RPI before transferring to CCT in Plattsburgh, where he earned his degree in environmental science. He later got married, moved to Torrington, Connecticut, had 2 boys, Brandon and Nathan. Mike coached everything that they were involved in. For over a decade, I was told that his boys were the center of his universe. His face would glow when he talked about them. Unfortunately, on February 9, 2014, we lost Mike suddenly at the age of 42. The Hall of Fame committee talked about Mike for many years. Unfortunately, for everybody involved, it didn't happen before his passing. When I did my research on Mike, I already knew what type of stellar athletic accomplishments that he already had. But the stuff that I learned later that I was more impressed with. Mike volunteered countless hours to different sports and organizations in Torrington. He was part of the Torrington Youth Soccer, Torrington Little League, Torrington PTO, Torrington PTA, Babe Ruth, the Pals Basketball. Most impressive to me, he volunteered on weekends in the winter as a ski instructor for special needs children in the wintertime in the Strides program. In honor of Mike now in the town of Torrington, they have an annual Mike Bullish Coaches Game to kick off their season. Before I bring up Chuck to accept for Mike, and I'm glad his father didn't come up because we all know him, he would have us doing some kind of project adventure thing just to get us going. So I'm glad that young Chuck's up here, or he'd have a zip line, he'd want to enter him on a zip line or something like that. I just want to make this one last comment. In all the different things that people told me about Mike, This one hit me the hardest. Unknown by many of Mike's family members, Mike was an organ and tissue donor when he passed. Somebody sent me a list of the people that he's helped over the years. Over 65 people have been helped through donations from California to Florida, from young children to old men, have been saved from Mike. I know this is going to sound odd, but I just want to mention a few cases. His pulmonary artery was transplanted into a 4-day-old baby boy in Pennsylvania in June of 2014 to save his life. The next case, 3 different women have been saved using his tissue to help with breast reconstruction after cancer. Knowing how Mike was, and knowing how good a sense of humor he has, and how much he loved to stir the pot. Am I correct? I just want to say this. Whether he was saving a young boy's life or staying close to a woman's chest, you know Mike and those famous Golden Bear dimples is smiling up there someplace. At this time, I'd like to bring up his older brother, Chuck, to accept from Mike in the plaque for the Canton Athletic Hall of Fame.
Mike, thank you very much for a great introduction. I know you worked tirelessly over the past couple months to research and really do Mike justice, and me and my family appreciate that. I guess after 40 years, I need to finally admit that Mike's got me beat. I would never have done it, but he's the better player, and he's got me beat. We have ample evidence now, and again, he's a great player. And it was a pleasure to play with as well, too. Mike loved putting on the brown and gold. He really loved competing. And I know a number of teammates I've already seen today. And the only thing probably he enjoyed more than putting on the brown and gold is putting on the brown and gold and beating Norwood Norfolk. I hated them, and thank God he finally beat them for me, because every year, my senior year, we lost to him in every sport. Soccer, basketball, they finished my season. Thank God Mike came through 2 years later and finished their seasons. But again, Mike was honored. About 2 years ago, he got the nomination form. He was really honored to be nominated for this recognition. And if you knew Mike, when you saw him play, you definitely knew he was a fierce competitor. And trust me, I know it. I played him more than anyone else in Section 10. One-on-one in the backyard, and it doesn't matter what it was. A lot of times it ended up in a fight, usually. After a while, we figured out, when we were about 14, I think my mom or dad came home and broke us up from going through 3 or 4 doors in the house, and we were both kind of banged up a little bit, and they said, we kind of looked at each other and go, that's the last time we're going to fight each other. Let's kind of just focus it externally from now on. But again, a great competitor, but more importantly, and we really learned it over the last year and a half, and Mike touched upon some of the stories. As fierce a competitors, and I swear to God, when he walked in between those boundary lines, he was out for blood. He was going to win that game no matter what. But he was a better teammate. He was a great teammate and a great friend. And we heard those stories in the last year and a half, and that's really his story. His years at Canton, he was really fortunate to have great teammates and great coaches. Coach Ducharme, Coach Howard, Coach Willett, fantastic coaches, and a really great community. And he really loved those years at Canton, as did obviously we all did. And he was really grateful for that. And really, just on behalf of the people who love Mike and who Mike loved, and especially our family and his boys, which were really the center of his earth, and really his moon stars, Brandon and Nathan, and my mom and dad. Really want to thank you very much for the honor of Mike today. And hey, one last thing, once a bear, always a golden bear. Thank you very much.
Usually when I come up here after somebody presents, I bust on their chops, but I guess I can't do that to myself, can I? Our next presenter is Mr. Dave Bradman, and he's inducting for Mr. Pat Harrington.
Thanks, Mike. Congratulations to all the sports teams that they announced today at the beginning. None would be more special for me than the football victory over OFA. I coached football from '84 to 2008, and we did not beat them then. And that's some nice satisfaction seeing the team out there today. Very fitting for today. Congratulations to all the inductees tonight, to all the members of the Hall of Fame that are here in the audience today. I notice a lot of people that are past inductees. I had the pleasure this evening of presenting Pat Harrington for induction to this Hall of Fame. I coached Pat for 4 years, from '94 to '98, in football and lacrosse. When I think about his attributes as an athlete, I remember a comment he made while playing 5th and 6th grade lacrosse. And my memory is not that great, so this was something that stuck to me. That to hear a kid say in 5th and 6th grade that he wanted to take the lacrosse team, that Canton lacrosse team, to the state championship, made an impression on me. Most 5th and 6th graders are thinking about getting down to Morgan's for ice cream after practice rather than getting to high school and getting to a state playoff. So I kind of had a special eye on him from the very beginning, and he was a smaller player, but had a determination that was that marked his strength as an athlete and stayed with him. I'd say that it set the tone for his career. It was confidence, determination, hard work, and to go along with completing the task at hand, whether it was a good fake in football, dangle in hockey, or a dodge for a score on lacrosse. Pat was a leader on the field, the quarterback, literally the quarterback in football, and the field general, the quarterback in lacrosse. As a football coach, I looked for a leader at quarterback who had some idea of our overall offensive plan. That is to say, to know what my strategy was, and not to, in a way, kind of, so he could have an idea of what I was thinking. No small task, because I wasn't always sure what I was thinking. Anyhow, for better or worse, Pat figured out very quickly and as to what I thought would work. And a lot of times when I was ready to send a signal in from the sideline, he would already have the same idea, and we got ourselves in sync. And if he had a better idea, I was pretty confident that he had a better feel for what was going on the field than I had on the sideline, and able to execute it. It wasn't the biggest, strongest, fastest guy, but there wasn't anybody more determined or anybody who had more of an attitude that he was going to be able to win the game. And that paid off. I mean, he was a member of the state championship hockey teams. We took the lacrosse team to the state championship that year. Our football team was absolutely dynamic. We were not champions, but we played some of the best football in the years that I coached, and that was largely due to his leadership. He also started defensive back and tangled with great Nate Leonard from Governor, and was a match for anybody in the league. So I thought back to coaching in football. I really got to know him well in football, although lacrosse was his favorite sport, and arguably the sport that he was the best at. He played for 4 years on the varsity as an undersized freshman and sophomore filling in a scoring role that a lot of younger players did when they came up for lacrosse, and his talents shone through very quickly. He was able to fit in and develop into the junior and senior leader that propelled our team to one of the top teams in the country. They just started rating nationally at that time. The magazines were rating it, and as our team went on, that was a great group of athletes. We became a top 10 team. He was the outstanding player in the league as a senior. And in a small school like ours, one good athlete doesn't make a team great, but a great team needs a leader that can make the team great. And he provided that. He continued his career at Nazareth, and then traveling with a traveling club team, the Crease Monkeys, which he continues to play on. I would have to mention too that he followed in the footsteps of his brother Grady, who was a goalie, perfect for an offensive player to have somebody to shoot on, and his cousins Johnny and Eddie Fay, who also really put Canton on the map for lacrosse. After I retired, I worked with Pat as his assistant here at Canton. He coached the high school team here for a year or two maybe, and now we're colleagues at Canton College. He coaches the men's team, and I coach the women's team. I'm actually the assistant coach of the women's team. The one thing that is missing actually from tonight's presentation is a recognition and honor of Pat's dad, Mick Harrington, passed away this past spring. If you want to look at what makes a young man successful, you have to meet his father. Caring, loving person who supported his kids and the teams and set an example for all of us with his kindness, generosity, and his good nature. I would like to present this award to Pat in memory of his dad, as he was the real coach. I just filled in for him a few hours a day in the spring and the fall. Pat Harrington.
I first want to say real quick to Sparky, Coach Porter, being a former football player, didn't watch today's game, knocking off Ogdensburg first time, whatever, forever. I sure did it. It was just awesome. So congratulations, Coach Porter, Sparky. That made my day great. I'd like to start by thanking the Hall of Fame committee for this unbelievable honor. Being a Golden Bears meant everything to me since I moved here to Canton when I was in the 3rd grade. This honor is just, it's beyond anything I could imagine. It means the world to me. I'd also like to congratulate all the other members of this year's class. Just being part of this group, let alone the rest of the Hall of Fame, is unbelievable. It's an amazing honor. So congratulations to the soccer teams, everybody else up here tonight. I have to thank some people. I'll start with my family. My mother's here tonight. The support my mother and father gave me with athletics growing up was truly incredible. They sacrificed so much time, an insane amount of money. Every free second, every vacation they had, from the very start of my athletic career, almost to this day. I got everything I ever needed, basically everything I ever wanted for sports from my parents. They never once said no to me, whether that meant playing in tournaments throughout Canada, all over, up and down the East Coast of the U.S. They never said no to me when I said I need a new stick, a hockey stick, a new lacrosse stick, I need new football cleats, money for the 20th lacrosse tournament in the summer, and on and on and on. They just never said no once to me when it came to sports. So thank you, Mom. I love you. Thank you very much. My sister Keely is here tonight with her family. Keely only got to be Gold Bear for a very short amount of time. She was close to graduating when we moved here, but she was a great softball player for Coach Millette here in Canton. She's been my biggest fan all the way back to when I was playing Pee Wee sports. She never misses a game. She traveled all over the state, cheered me on all the way through high school. So thank you, Keely. My brother Grady, he's here tonight. He has been everything for me, from being an athletic role model to a coach, to a teammate, and now we get to coach together. My brother did so much for my athletic career. He was a great football and lacrosse player here at Canton. Being 5 years older than me, by the time I got to high school, he was already in college. So every summer, when lacrosse would finally end, at the end of the summer, we'd only have about a week or two to start getting ready for football. I was a quarterback, and my brother was a great wideout here. So he was getting ready to go back to college, and he would take free time every day to run routes for me, so I could start getting my arm back ready for football season. He'd let me shoot at him all summer, in goal, lacrosse, always tell me, give me tips on what goalies were thinking, what they were taught to do, which made a huge impact on my game. And he just, and now, like I said, we get to be teammates since I've been out of college, the post-collegiate club team we're on. And now he coaches with me. He works as our goalie coach and a defense assistant for me up at SUNY Canton. One of the things I enjoy most about life now is getting to play and coach with my brother Grady. Thank you. I have a whole bunch of aunts and uncles here tonight who have followed my career from day one, come to everything, cheered me on, supported me, even when I was playing against their beloved Messina Red Raiders. They're all Red Raiders, and I don't know. I don't hold that against them, but I don't even like really saying that school's names, just those guys up there. But thank you. My Uncle Harry, my Aunt Peggy, my Uncle Eddie, my Aunt Pat, my Uncle Danny, and my Aunt Linda, who are all here tonight. I'd like to thank all my teammates. I was a member of the class of 1998, and I'll say this, and some people up here, and probably a lot of people down here won't particularly like it, but the class of 1998, in my mind, was the best athletic class that's ever been. All you got to do, I know. Go down to the gym, though, and you look. I think when I was thinking about it, I think baseball and golf were the only two sports, boys or girls, that didn't win the section championship my senior year. Every single other sport won. You can look at the state championship banners, all the section banners, the national rankings. You're just not going to convince me otherwise. I got to mention, like, my senior year in lacrosse, we had 18 seniors on the team. So I can't mention all my teammates who played with some unbelievable players. Every single one of those guys could play lacrosse. But I got to mention real quick, I got to thank Mark Morley, who's already in this Hall of Fame. Mark and I played football, hockey, and lacrosse together from 3rd grade on. The main reason I'm up here is I scored a lot of goals in lacrosse. I don't know what the total number is. It's ballpark, probably 225, 250 goals. Mark probably assisted on at least 95% of those goals. That's probably low ball, too. So I just got to thank Mark for being a great teammate and a great friend to me. I've got to thank my coaches. I'll start with football. Pee Wee was Carl Rajan, Tim Young's Lester Osala, modified Coach Bill and Coach Tyler, JV was Coach Sparky Newman, and Coach Gozer, and varsity was Coach Bradman, Coach Porter, Coach Crawford. I know there were some other guys that were in and out. I know I forgot some, so I apologize to those guys. In hockey, at the Pee Wee levels, was Big John Musa, Stevie Craig, Tom Coakley, and Gary Canfield, Bill Coakley, and Ron Spatazzini. And at the high school level, I have to thank Ralphie Newline, who's here tonight, going in Hall of Fame. Congrats, Ralphie. Bruce Flanagan, and Coach Brown. Coach Brown taught me so much about giving everything you have when you're playing sports, doing everything the right way while playing sports. And at the end of the day, that Canton on the front of your jersey was truly the only thing that mattered. Coach Brown simply wanted us to play the game the right way and to win. Team was the only thing that mattered, no individuals whatsoever. You played for your team, your school, and your town, not for yourself. As a freshman outside of this classroom, right down the hall here, before the season, Coach Brown grabbed me and said, "Patty Dog, you're never going to be the biggest, the fastest, the strongest guy on the team. But if you give everything you have on every single day, and every time you're on the ice, and you do exactly what we tell you to do, you'll play a big part in this team over the next couple of years." My junior and senior year, we won the Division I New York State Championships. I was on the top 2 lines both of those years, and there were guys on the 3rd and 4th lines who didn't play nearly as much as I, who were definitely better individual players than me. Coach Brown was true to his word to me, and never once steered me wrong while I played for him. Coach Brown always would drill into us several quotes. We'd hear hear them so much that eventually we believe every one of them, and they become reality. My favorite Coach Brown quote ever is this: anyone can give 110%, but champions find a way to give 115%. Champions dig down deep into the very pit of their stomachs and tear up that extra 5% that it takes to become a champion. My entire high school hockey career, my teammates and I dug down deep and tore up that extra 5% every time we were on the ice. And because of that, I was able to end my career as a hockey player, as a back-to-back state champ. Thank you very much, Coach Brown. Lacrosse at the modified level, I thank Tim Youngs, Bill Baskin, Wesley, Scott Leonard. There's more. At the JV level, Sparky Newman, again. I played 2 years of JV football for Sparky, but basically not even half a JV lacrosse run before I got pulled up to the varsity team as a freshman. So a lot of what Sparky taught me was on the football field. I played positions in both football and lacrosse that naturally force you into leadership roles. Sparky taught me so much about being a leader on the field, a man on the field, and how to carry myself on the field so that my teammates would follow. He did this by making me do a lot of push-ups, crunches, sprints, and very affectionately calling me a retard. But he'd always immediately build me back up and tell me why a leader can't act that way in the field. I owe a ton of my success in football and lacrosse to Sparky. Thank you very much, Sparky. My varsity lacrosse coaches were Coach Fay and Coach Bradman. To almost everyone here, Coach Fay is known as Coach Fay or Coach Daniel or just Daniel. But to me, he's my Uncle Danny. My Uncle Danny's played such a huge role in my athletic career that I don't even know where to really begin. The day I moved here in the 3rd grade, he picked me up at Syracuse Airport, drove me straight back to these fields, to football practices, and introduced me to the first 2 people I met in town, who were Sparky Newman and Coach Bradman. My Uncle Danny got me my first hockey stick I ever had, got me my first lacrosse stick I ever had, and made sure even as a 3rd grader I was 100% all in as a Gold Bear for the rest of my life. To me, he's been a coach, a role model, a teacher, a boss, a disciplinarian, a supporter, a father figure, but most importantly, he's been a great, great uncle. Thank you very much, Uncle Danny. Coach Bradman's impact on my life, let alone my athletic career, is immeasurable. Taking me out as a ball boy for the football and lacrosse teams when I first moved here in 3rd grade, which then led to him having to put up with me in his office every single day for about probably 90% of every class day for the next 9 years. I would watch film, I would ask never any questions about football and lacrosse, and Coach Bradman answered every single question I had, but usually tried to steer their conversations towards other things like grades, going back to my classes, and always about making positive impact in our community. Coach Bradman and I, when it came to football and lacrosse, like he spoke of earlier, had a bit of a kind of a mind meld. We almost were always on the same wavelength. I usually knew what play he was going to call in football before he even sent it in, and we had a good amount of success because we both could move the team forward because we both knew what we were thinking. Lacrosse, on the other hand, is an up and down, free-flowing sport. I always felt I saw the game a little differently than most people as the game was unfolding. So when I first started playing varsity lacrosse with Coach Bradman, he'd always talk to me about finding the pace and the rhythm of the game. Everything I accomplished on a lacrosse field here in Canton would be traced directly to Coach Bradman and how he molded me as a player. Brads would give me CDs and always give me suggestions of the music I should be listening to during the season. And one way or another, it always made sense to me, and it worked. I don't know if he did it on purpose, if he was just trying to give me a CD, or if he was doing it subconsciously, but it ended up always working out for me on the field. It got me in the right flow always in the game. I coached lacrosse now at SUNY Canton, men's team. Coach Bradman coaches with the women's lacrosse team. So I still, almost on a daily basis, get to have conversations with him about lacrosse. I still ask him never any questions about lacrosse, and he still answers every single one of them for me. Another bonus is I still get to play catch with Coach Bradman from time to time. Coach Bradman and I have been having catches for almost 30 years now. We get our sticks out, just throw the ball around and just talk. You know, I'm always asking lacrosse questions in general. When we play catch, we almost never talk about lacrosse, we just talk about life. There's very few things on earth that make me happier than when I get to have a catch with Coach Bradman. Thank you for everything, Coach Bradman. I've been incredibly lucky to grow up and play sports here in Canton when I did. I had a great family sport, an unbelievable group of teammates, I had a great group of parents, we had great support from the community, great support from the school. We had the best coaches anyone could ever ask for. When I played, talking about winning and demanding to win was common. And that was completely fine as long as you played the game the right way, you carried yourself appropriately. All I hear all over the place now is winning, losing doesn't matter. You have to be PC and give everyone the trophy just for showing up. I know I'll probably get in trouble for saying this, but in athletics, handing people trophies just for showing up is pure garbage. At the end of the day in athletics, there's always a winner and always a loser. Why anyone would say being a loser is acceptable is completely beyond me. When I was younger, my Aunt Linda Fay was here and gave me a book of sports quotes, and I still have this book to this day. My favorite quote of all time ended up being kind of my personal motto through sports of all time. It was a quote from tennis champion Jimmy Connors. He said, "I hate to lose more than I love to win. And winning means everything to me. I hate the look on my opponent's face when they beat." Well, they might not say it publicly, I'm pretty certain that's a common thread that goes through all the members of the Hall of Fame here at Canton. The drive to excel, to always excel and always to win, is ingrained in all Golden Bears by our coaches we've had and have now. This is what makes being a Canton Golden Bear the best thing in the world. I've always loved being a Golden Bear and will always love being a Golden Bear. Thank you very much.
I noticed on Pat's plaque that says class of '90. Earlier, I heard him tell somebody he was born in 1979, 1980. If I'd known you graduated when you were 10 years old, playing that well in lacrosse and football, I'd have voted for you a long time ago to be in the Hall of Fame. I'm assuming that's supposed to say 98? Okay. You know, for years, different coaches have been saying they want to bring their teams to this ceremony. And this is the first time Coach Matt Caulfield actually has a lot of his team over there. And I'm impressed with that. And I hope you guys listen to what he had to say about that team with Coach Brown and different messages, because that's stuff most times you don't realize until you're our age. I mean, at that age, you just are looking for stats and girls. When you get to our age, you're looking for girls and to get up the next morning. All right, next presenter. It's Mr. Roger Ducharme presenting for the 1975 soccer team and the 1976 soccer team.
Thank you, Michael. Congratulations to Maureen, to Pat, Dave Shea, and Michael. Before I get to our two teams, I have a few words I'd like to say about Mike Polish. Mike was taken from us much, much too early. I got to know Mike very well as an 8th grade science student, as a JV basketball player for 2 years, as a varsity soccer player for 3 years. So you can see he and I spent a lot of time together. An older brother, Chuck, who was accepting earlier, was also a science student, basketball player, and soccer player. Their parents, Chuck and Sue, are wonderful people and were always very supportive. Mike was a central defender, a 3-year All-Star. He was one of the top defenders to ever wear the brown and gold for the Bears. He led his teams to several championships, including the state championship in 1988. I miss you, Mike, and I'm sure your family and your friends do also. '75 and '76 soccer teams are being honored tonight, and without Tim Whalen, John and Peg Hayes, and Rick Muller, and others I may not be aware of, many of them probably would not be here tonight because they spent countless hours, I'm sure, trying to locate and trying to make sure that they would attend tonight's festivities. One of our team pictures has cheerleaders in it, one does not, but I would like to acknowledge the 75 cheerleaders
that cheered. Very tough to cheer for a soccer team. The only time that the time stopped was when a goal was scored or at halftime. So these girls did a great job. Probably the best thing they did was that they made the bus rides much more pleasant. Linda Richardson, Joan Leduc, Carol Palmer, Randy Donnelly, Jody Sanderson, and Colleen Butler were the 75 cheerleaders. The 76 cheerleaders were Linda Richardson, Randy Donnelly, Colleen Butler, Terry Whiteford, Denise Kennedy, Wendy Morrison, Patty Latimer, and Tammy Sanderson. Once again, thank you very much, girls. We're going to do something a little different tonight as far as presenting the players to you. Because it's a back-to-back championship, there were 3 graduating classes that were involved. And I'm going to ask in a couple minutes to have Paul Van Heining from the class of 76, John Hayes from the class of 77, and Mike McKinnon from the class of 78 to present their teammates. Before I do that, I'd like to introduce a longtime JV coach of mine, Gerald Schmilgen. I know he's here. Jerry was a football player, and I needed a JV soccer coach, and he volunteered. Little did I know that commando practice was what he was going to give me. This practice became known as Camp Lejeune North. Dirt drills, you players remember. Laps, wasn't a lap. He called it a monster. They were adventures. Went all the way around the campus. But anyway, thank you so much, Jerry, for getting those kids ready to play varsity soccer. I have a couple stories before I turn it over to the boys. I don't know if it's a good time because the football team finally nailed Ogdensburg today. But when soccer first started, the football players and other athletes didn't think much of soccer. They called the kids pansies, sissies, chicken. They were terms used to describe the soccer players. And they'd say, why not play a real sport? Play soccer, play football. Until one of the people sitting out here that's being honored tonight, I won't give you his name, was on the JV team. He was a freshman, a scrawny kid. He came into practice. I'm downstairs. Let me set it for you. I'm supervising in the locker room after practice. My colleague, Bill Hayden's over on the other side supervising. And this one particular football player was at his locker, still had his full uniform, helmet, and everything on. And this little freshman soccer player came in, and the football player said to him, you walk around the lockers. I don't want you walking past mine. Well, the little freshman looked at it and didn't say anything. He said, my locker's right over there. Varsity player said, tell you once more, walk around those lockers. Don't go traipsing past mine. And he started to punch the kid, the soccer player, in the chest. The soccer player reached over. He grabbed that football player by his jersey, picked him up off the floor, and banged his head against the locker about 3 times. The kid's tongue's hanging out. And he's still holding him up there, and he says, my locker's right over there. Very quiet. My locker's right over there. I'm not walking around. You understand? Yes, sir. He sets him down, and the locker room's totally silent. Totally silent. And the kid just sitting there with his chin, the football player with his chin on his chest, not saying a word. Nobody else said anything. Soccer player goes over to his locker. My buddy Bill Hayden says, Roger, what's that kid do during the wintertime? Is he a wrestler? But anyway, that was a turning point for soccer here at Canton. I mean, it became a full-fledged, there was no more nonsense after that. No more name calling. It was just no fights, nothing. That was the end of it. So I'm not going to tell you who the kid was, but I will say this. He was extremely strong, probably very upset from just finishing 2 monsters for Schmogan. But he picked bales of hay up in each hand, probably heavier than the varsity football player was. And he was throwing around cows who weighed a whole lot more than that varsity football player did. So, and he had a couple brothers that were pretty good soccer players and a couple sisters too. Maybe you can figure it out, but who that is. But anyway, I have another little kind of funny story with Bobby Style. I was hoping Bobby would get back today, but I don't think he did. We're playing Governor, and we're on our way back. And Bobby says, Coach, stop the bus. I said, Bobby, I'm not stopping the bus. I figured maybe he'd thrown his hat out or had to go to the bathroom or something. He says, Coach, stop the bus. So I figured he was serious enough. So he stopped the bus. He goes out with his little duffel bag and a towel. He picks up this dead animal off the side of the road, puts it in the duffel bag, gets back in the bus, and I said, what is that, Bobby? He said, it's a muskrat, Coach. That pelt's worth $2.50. He must have seen that dead animal on the way to Governor, so he knew exactly where it was on the way back. At this time, I'd like to bring up Paul Van Heining and Johnny Hayes and Mike Buchanan to present their classmates. We'll start with Paul, who's going to present the class of 70. Paul Van Heining.
Thank you, Coach. Congratulations to the soccer team today. Congratulations to the football team. I'd like to introduce the 76 soccer team. Johnny McDonald. Dave Noble. Francis Rookie. Mike Scrivener. Kenny Strong. These are the players that didn't make it. Bill Ash, Bob Jackson, Lowell Matat, John Rich, and Bobby Stiles. Thank you very much.
I'd like to congratulate everybody today. Good day today. If you haven't figured out, I'm a scrawny little guy. I get to join my wife and sister in a Hall of Fame, which is kind of cool. I'd like to introduce our players that are here today. Shane Barr. Bennett. John Hayes, myself. Roger Hudson. Brian Todd. Tim Whalen. Rick Hunter. Jimmy Hunt. Don Mason. Andy Baker. Al Blanchard. Dave Cady. Scott Defoe. Roger Hutchison. David Lawrence. Pat Mace. Chris Musa. Bernard Rowe. Rick Simpson. Jose Soul. Dave Wilson. And Tom LaFave. And by the way, we were kind of the key class for this whole gathering. Just want to let both groups know that that's why you're here, guys.
Thanks, Mom. I'd like to say one thing that I'm sure I speak for all the soccer players here, is that one thing that playing soccer for Canton High School, it was many things, successful of course, but it was fun. It was fun to play. It was fun to practice, it was fun to play in the games. And the reason for that was Coach Ducharme had the ability to have the right amount of structure and the right amount of anarchy to let the team find its own identity and then play with that identity. And I think that was part of the reason for our great success. We were able to laugh together, laugh at each other, and laugh at ourselves. And there's no reason to stop now. So I would like to, the members of the class of 1978 who are here, Pat Curry, Brett Brandon, Ron Newbine, and not here, I don't think, Dan Bove, Mike Fadden, John Harrington. And I think that's the small but very influential class of 78.
Thank you again from the 75 and 76 teams. Thank you.
The funny thing about him wearing number 55 there, our modified program is still using those uniforms. And we have a 54 and a 56, and we've been looking for 55 for 30 years. I'm going to send the principal looking for you right now. When Coach Ducharme was telling that story, I knew it had to be John Hayes. And actually, John's got a niece who's a freshman on our girls soccer team right now, might be one of the best players on the team, and I think she could do that. They have football players too right now. No offense to our football players. To wrap things up, I want to say congratulations to everybody. Also, everything that's put on in this entire ceremony is all donations. If you want to put money into the donation, you can make the donation by buying a brick and having your name put out on the walkway out in front of the gym. There's forms out there, there's forms down at the reception. Also, special thanks to all the committee members, especially Neil Riggs, Dave Peggs, Kathy Flanagan, Kathy Gilio, and Bill Porter. Without these people and putting the time they put in, we would never have this ceremony. So let's have a round of applause for those people right there. To wrap it up, let's join all the inductees and their families to walk down on your own to the Bill Hayden Hall of Fame down by the gym. And if you don't know where that is, because you haven't been around here in a long time, go where the old bus garage used to be, and you're gonna find a gym there and a locker rooms there now. Then we're gonna go down to the old deck side where the golf course is, and if you haven't been back in town a long time, go to where the PB baseball fields are, take a left, and that's where they are. Thank you very much for coming tonight.